What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about, haven't come up with the title for yet, but the difference between knowing when to quit versus when to surrender. This topic is interesting because over the last, for the last year or so, my content has been more geared towards holistic wellness that includes emotional healing, and a lot of that has branched into spirituality in a sense. And I'll get comments from people saying I'll never quit, I never give up, things of that sort. And I get it, because you hear the word surrender, you can kind of think of like surrendering in a battle, but it's not quitting. And this is particularly ripe for me right now. So this is good. So let's talk about it. Quitting versus surrendering, and knowing when to, discerning, right, is the better word. Discerning the difference between when to do one versus the other. I mean, quitting we can look at like in the realm of sports. You start playing a sport when you're a kid that you don't like, and you're like, okay, I want to quit. So you give it up. But surrendering in this case is you've done everything you can for a particular outcome or circumstance to change, things of that sort, and now you give it to the universe and give it to God. It is out of your control. The rest of it's out of your control, because you know where your limitations are. You know where your boundaries are. It's like if you want to make a business happen, if you want to build a business, I mean, you can pour as much time and energy into the business as humanly possible. But at some point you're gonna have to eat. At some point you're gonna have to sleep. I mean, there's basic fundamental needs that we all need to meet in order for our bodies to thrive, for our minds to stay sharp, things of that sort. And so there will come a time where there's a diminishing return on how much effort you're putting into your business. And that's where you get to that line in the sand where it's like you've done everything, and now you give it to God, you give it to the universe, you give it to source, whatever you decide to call it. But you give it to this divine entity that created all of creation, that is bigger than you. It's like if you and your partner are fighting, arguing, you're butting heads a lot. So you go to counseling, you communicate better, you work on yourselves, each of you, and then you get to a point where it's like, okay, we don't know what to do anymore, but something's still not clicking. So that example immediately kind of could trigger, oh well, it's obvious that maybe there isn't compatibility, maybe they're not meant for one another, that type of thing. But when you get to that point where it's like you've done everything you can on both ends, now what? And you sit with it and you wait for the answer, like, what do I do next? Because the mind is looking for something to anchor into. It's looking for certainty. It's looking for something that will give it a sense of security. Again, we have to look at the mind for a moment as it's a survival tool, right? It's a problem-solving machine, right? The problems being survival related. And what happens is, when we have something we identify as a problem, so maybe friction or conflict within a relationship, business not being as successful, work isn't what you want it to be, you identify that problem because it's not aligned with you, and your mind sees it as, it filters it through your survival mechanisms, and then it wants to solve the problem. It wants to do it now, right? Because it's a problem-solving machine. It has a task, fix, problem. And right now, the answer may not come to you exactly, right? Like maybe you feel in your heart you and your partner are compatible, but you keep fighting, there's a lot of friction, there's tension, all these things. And you guys do all the work, and then now you're just at the standpoint where it's like, well, what do I do next? And you surrender that over to the universe. It's where you don't try to control or manipulate the outcome anymore. Right? So when people talk about letting go, it's the same idea, it's just different wording. When we let go of emotions, versus quitting. If you were to quit on something like your health and fitness, if you were to quit on it, you would feel a sense of regret. So the difference in exploring, the difference between quitting and surrendering is this: when you quit, you give up hope, and the mind looks to gravitate towards something solidified in the physical reality. But when you surrender, you have hope, and more than that, you have faith that you are being guided towards exactly what's meant for you, that you are doing everything that you want to and are supposed to do. And now there are just things at play that need to unfold for the outcome you're looking for to come to fruition. In the example of a relationship, what this could look like is maybe you guys just both need time to settle into the new dynamics of more communicating, going to counseling, things of that sort. And then you'll start to feel that compatibility again. You'll feel that spark again. In the realm of business, I mean, like, let's think about it for a moment. Like, even if you have the best location for a brick and mortar business, I mean, people still have to walk in the door. And sometimes it could take that one person who walks in one day and maybe they share your business on social media. So like 6 of their friends see it. And then they tell somebody else about it at the bowling night, and then there's this ripple effect. But it started with that one person. You had to have faith that one person would even walk in the door, right? Because if not, you won't even get started. And so the difference really between surrender and quitting is giving up hope versus having hope, and more importantly, having faith and trusting in something substantially bigger than you. And if you're stuck in a lot of patterns of like the egoic wounds, right? The wounded ego is controlling you, you feel, right? The mind is always like just chaos. Maybe you don't even feel right in your own body. You don't feel at home in your own body. Maybe you don't know who you are anymore. Then it can put on blinders. And it can either convince you that you're quitting when you're actually surrendering, and it'll start with all the negative chatter. Or you'll be pessimistic, negative, like, oh, this stuff's not going to happen for me. It never works out my way, things of that sort. And keep saying that and saying that. That's the energy you're putting out there. So you're going to attract the same thing in return. So then the question becomes, well, then how do we know the difference between which one? And the simplest answer is alignment, right? The simplest answer is alignment. Like, if it's something that doesn't actually align with you, and maybe you're doing it because of social pressure or cultural pressure or familial pressure, then it's not aligned with you, because maybe you don't really give a shit about having a 3-story house in the suburbs. Maybe you'd rather live in the city your whole life, or maybe you'd rather have a farm, so it's like, if you are living a life based off of what other people's expectations, and they don't even have to be projecting them onto you, you just feel them. When you are living a life like that, then you are not in alignment. Now, if you're pursuing the life you want, and maybe you don't have some of the things yet, then you are, at bare minimum, you are aligning your actions with what you say you want. And so there is a level of alignment in that. And so in order to really understand the difference between quitting and surrendering, you have to know what it is that you're pursuing. What do you want from your life? What outcomes do you want? Is it something that you truly, genuinely, authentically want? Not what your mom said that women and men are supposed to be like in a relationship. Not what your mom thinks you are supposed to do because of her regrets. Not because of the standards your dad had because his dad left him and his dad left him before that. None of that shit. What is it that you want? When you get beyond all the layers of it all, when you get beyond all of the chatter the mind creates to try to keep you safe, what is the life that you actually want to live look like? And then are you putting conscious effort, pouring energy into intentionally the life that you want to live. Because when you are, you're going to come up against those roadblocks. You're going to get to a point in your health and fitness where you have to stop trying to control every last outcome to lose another 2 pounds. You have to let go of control of trying to control. You have to let go of controlling the outcome of losing weight. And when you do, when you trust that you're doing the right things, when you trust that you trust your body, you trust you're doing the right things, you trust in something bigger than you, then you get to that edge, you find all of yourself, more of yourself, and you stop trying to control. You can take a deep breath in the moment. And the outcome, you still want the same outcome, but it doesn't have to be exactly what you want it to be, because you're on the right path. You are aligned. You are aligning yourself even further. And so you can surrender it over to something bigger than you. But when you're wounded, when you're, and honestly, hold on, before I go there, if it's not aligned to you, then you quit it. I mean, it really is just that simple. Because even when we come to the edges, and the universe is asking us, like, hey, it's time to surrender. What's going to happen is, again, like I said, you're going to come up against all the edges of yourself. So you're going to hear all of the wounds, all the stories that are in play. You're going to feel viscerally what that shame, that guilt, that abandonment wound feels like. Right? Because, like, let's just say you want to be really wealthy and you don't have it yet. Right? So at a base level, we can recognize that if you don't have it yet, then there's still a lot of lack in your energy field. So you have to get in there and clean out some of the weeds of it all. So you start doing a lot of the inner work to heal, like, your abandonment wound and your money wounds and your fears and all of these things. It starts to clear up your energy field. So then you have the space within you, because right now your energy field, your energy body is filled with lack from not being good enough, from the fears, from the abandonment wounds, from the enmeshment wounds, from all of the wounds. And so you don't have the capacity to hold the money. So even if you were handed $1 million tomorrow, you'd sabotage yourself. And you would lose it all. You wouldn't handle the money how you would want to get the outcomes you want, to live the life that you want. You might just start throwing money at a situation, or every situation now, because you think money's the problem. But in reality, the reality of your financial situation is mirroring back to you the lack that's within you. And so now that you've done all of the house cleaning, the internal house cleaning, you have the space to receive that abundance, whether that abundance come in money form or health and wellness, or career, different career opportunities, relationships, things of that sort. Whatever that abundance looks like for you, you have to create the space internally so you can receive the capacity. So you have the capacity to hold the abundance that you've been calling in. And so when you do that, and you can actually receive it. And everything in pursuit of that is alignment. So when you get to the edges of surrender, when when Source is asking you surrender, you'll know, because you'll hear the old stories, you feel the old patterns, you'll feel the old pulls back. Even if you have a pattern where, like, oh, I don't drink water, so I'm gonna stop drinking water, or I need to drink more water, but I suck at drinking water, and you revert back to sucking at drinking water all the time. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means it's a quick setback and a recalibration, a retuning of your energy field, because there's still a little bit of that, like, residue left from the fears, the wounds. So you become familiar with the stories, and you listen and you listen and you listen, because when you get to that edge, they're going to come up because they're scared. That inner child is scared. You hold space for it. But if it's not aligned to you, like quitting, you won't even think twice about it. You know, it's like if I were to pick up a basketball, if I were to join a basketball league, and after, like, the first game, I'm like, yeah, it's not my thing, I would just quit. I mean, I know basketball's not my thing, but, like, if I was exploring, you know, because half of this journey, this healing journey, is about exploring yourself, getting to know yourself on a deep, visceral, emotional level. And so quitting is simple. If it's not aligned to you, like there won't be any friction. If it's not aligned to you, there won't be any friction. There won't be any tension. There won't be any challenges when it comes down to like, should I do this or should I not? You know? If you're still wounded, if you still have a lot of these wounds calling the shots up here, and I don't mean you're crazy, when I do that, you still have all the wounds calling the shots up here, then there's going to be a friction because it's going to be pulling you back towards your old patterns based off of other people's opinions. But when you can recognize those and you can hear the thoughts go by, so you just take them in your mind and you put them over here for a moment. It's like, okay, whatever mom and dad said doesn't matter. So once I put that aside, it's like, hey, should I keep going or should I not? It's like, you know the answer already, because once you get the wounds out of the way, it's clear. You'll know what is in alignment with you. And so then quitting, it has such a negative charge to it. I can feel it as I say it. Quitting or giving something up doesn't align to you. It's easy. Like, it doesn't matter. But something that's truly aligned for you, like, you know deep in your heart, you got to keep fucking going, right? You got to get healthier for the kid, so you're not going to give up, right? You know what I mean? Like, you want to start the business, you want to work for yourself, so you're not going to give up. You're going to come to the edges of yourself, and you have to hold those old patterns. Just because they're showing up again doesn't mean that it's not time to surrender. It just means they're there for you to create a bigger space to hold them, love them, and free the energy field up for the abundance you've been calling in, or the wealth, the health. Well, abundance, wealth, health, they're all the same thing if you ask me, but the health, the relationship, so you can receive that. If your energy field's clogged up, there's going to be so much friction. And so when you get to this point of surrender, it is going to be so confusing. Do I quit or like, am I being called to surrender, or am I supposed to quit? Like, what am I supposed to do? When you have all of these wounds clouding your judgment. So I hope that helps. So this one was definitely like a last minute idea that felt kind of aligned, and I don't know. If you took anything from this video, do all the YouTube algorithm stuff, like, comment, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. If you're interested in working with me, if you're a man interested in working with me, I specialize in working with men particularly. There would be a bunch of notes down below in the description. That's it. That's all, y'all. Thank you so much. Peace out.